Chapter 7. Learning more about the next plane of life. Learn to express our thoughts into things, not only in the next plane of life, but in this earth plane too. The quality of life on the next plane depends on our ability to use thought effectively to produce what is good. Those in the Brotherhood believe that we on this earth plane need to give consideration to the next plane of life before we go there. The better we understand the next plane, the quicker we will adjust. Those who go to the next plane with false expectations or with no expectations at all must go through a long period of re-education. The God self that you develop on earth plane will give you good truth, but if you have not given thought to this plane, you will be in shock for a while. It is to lessen this shock or prevent it altogether that this chapter is written. Here on this plane, our thoughts are expressed in things. Yes, in order to express the good things of life, we only need to think of them. Startled, I stopped the reception momentarily. Then the message continued. This is too confusing to understand, perhaps, but we would not get the things we need here unless we manifest them through thought. This way we think carefully and not wildly. We get our thoughts under control so that we can be on the mark to manifest what we need. If we miss the mark, we might manifest our fears, our goblins, or our horrors, and then we have a hell of our own making. My conception of heaven was one of beauty and peace. I waited for someone to speak to this thought. The heaven that you speak of is created from your mind. It isn't a permanent place in this plane where your spirit is sent. Then Jesus isn't preparing a place for me that where he goes, I may go also? How many times have I heard the biblical Jesus quote in this way? My teacher quickly responded. Never think that God takes charge of your spirit either here or there on earth. You enter free on this plane that you may choose to be one with God or not. This is the immutable law which God is. Do not enter into the idea that Jesus has the responsibility for where your spirit self will go on the next plane. Neither Jesus nor any of the Brotherhood herd spirits into heaven like sheep who must go where the shepherd makes them go. However, teaming up with Jesus or with other advanced spirits will help to give you more assurance that each person has a helper. If you will begin now to use your thoughts very carefully, you will be ready to direct your life when you come here. In this way, you can learn to use your thought process for good and not bad. That you may understand this better, we might compare your present thought with any trouble you have. Trouble gives you pain, and you can either pray it away or you can give it power so that you can put the matter into concrete. The way to give yourself the good life is to concentrate on that which is good. To give power to evil is to give power to the concrete that weighs you down. Think instead of the opposite, the other side of the coin. If you first think, my illness is terrible, change it about quickly to, health is my true state. Instead of thinking entirely of poverty, think of plenty and be specific. What do you really need and want? Give these things your clear thought. I asked if it was true that we can change our troubles into good experiences and our lack into plenty. That you should experience lack when you have the substance that never runs out is a matter of wonderment to us on this plane. Of course, you can use this substance. I countered by asking just how this is accomplished. The how is the matter of concentrating on the substance that is present, that is everlasting, that which gives energy to any concrete thought. God gives us this substance to use, not to wonder at. The first thing to do is to get your thoughts under control, then focus on the great supply of God that is open to you. There is no lack, no limit to the supply. There is so much that it is impossible to deplete it. Therefore, reach forth to claim that which you desire. Your desire tells the substance that you are thinking the thought that will open the supply to you. Then your energy this thought by giving it to the God of your being, the one who has your best interest in mind. This God will never fail you. He is the plentiful good Father who tries always to lead you in the path you have chosen to accomplish your soul growth. The second thing to do is to hold the idea of what you want in your mind. Think it in detail. Think it in its every aspect. Think it to the point that you know you see it clearly. Then feel the joy you have because of this tremendous true worth that is given to you. Be open with the truth that God gave the gift. Use it with the abandon of the rich who know there is more where this gift comes from. Understand? The Father is that which expresses in many ways, but he is the rich Father. This concept is the belief that God is what he claims he is, the giver of all good, the true wonder that in this world manifests what is needed by ones who accept his promise. If we are to manifest our good thoughts, those in the Brotherhood say we must choose to go along with truth. Otherwise, we will cling to the old ideas that keep us buried in the wayward thinking of belief in a God who empties his wrath upon us. It is time, my communicator says, for new thoughts. The thought process is the main thing here in this plane. If people do not accept it, they begin to believe they are crazy or weird. The idea of thought manifestation is the thing to accept. I suggested that earthbound souls who have passed on to the next plane of life must not understand this principle. Earthbound ones want to live again on the earth. They still have earth problems with them. They cannot let go. They manifest their agitated thoughts into the belief that they will be doomed to hell. They feel unworthy, and their thoughts create unworthy conditions. I asked for an example. The spirit of one person came here without instruction as to the thought process. The thoughts of his person were of guilt, of sins, thought unforgiven. These guilt feelings brought the person into sad circumstances. The poor house to hide in, the poor truth to give him comfort, the great fear of judgment that hung over him to be his greatest heartache. This person believed God had poor opinion of him, and therefore the person created poverty around him because he thought he deserved it. Then we began to instruct this person that God holds the truth for each individual, that he must find the truth by searching his own inner being. But it is so hard here. There is no life expressed except when that person is made. The entity has no material world to come up against, and there is no worthy person in this environment to demonstrate a different truth. All a person has is the environment he creates. That is the entire circumstance, and there he stays, fixed in concrete. You mean that people who think of themselves as a poor, miserable sinner create their own misery? This is our truth, that you will create here on this plane whatever picture you have of your being. Therefore it is important to become a lover of your own soul, to be a person who tells yourself worthy thoughts. Tell yourself that you are lovable, that you will attract good. Then with this mindset you will come here ready to create the beautiful and the good and to point your way to the best that growth can produce. I asked that this same truth could be applied to our lives in this earth plane. This same truth is true on the earth plane. So you may understand that you create your own world even on earth. Look around you. That you have created your own true growth in your surrounding is quite evident. They noted specifics in my life, such as my husband, whom they called my perfect mate, my home, its furnishing, then they added. These things are purely material. There is no spiritual value that will make them the wonderful, entirely good thought things that you will take here. They will vanish from your life, and that is all right. For you do not care much for material things, but for those who think they must take it with them in some way, they need to clothe their valuables, their precious things in this thought energy that will be the spiritual reality. Now there is a brand new concept that we can take it with us when we leave this plane. They were right when they said I do not care much for material things, but there are always these special items that I too would like to take with me, at least until I outgrow the need of them. I asked again about producing our desires from this substance that is unlimited and versatile. If you need food, you can produce food. You may need other things, and you may produce them too. When you wish for things you cannot afford with earth currency, turn to the substance. I had the feelings of offhandedness here, as if the matter of turning substance into whatever we desired was a simple matter. Also I received the definite impression that these advanced brothers wonder at my own denseness, that I must spend so much time discussing the concept. In some exasperation I thought one wrote, "Accept this as we give it to you. That is all you can do, because there is nothing in the material that can possibly tell you how this works. This is the truth we give you. Try to enjoy this truth without taking it apart. That is the way to enter new truth into your mind. Do not take them apart, simply accept them." I believe various brothers answered my questions, for when I returned to the subject of the substance yet again, I received a more patient answer. I mentioned that many materially rich people on this earth plane have created beautiful homes and furnished them lavishly. Do these people have these things because of their own self-worth? That you may understand this concept, let us teach you the principle with more detail. The pure substance that you have available is that which you attain without sweat. That which you sweat to earn is that which is created the material way without the substance of God entering into it. There are two kinds of manifestation, you see. One is by the sweat of the brow, and the other is from the substance of God. But on this second plane of life there is only the substance, not the material. That is the big difference. So what one thinks of himself may affect his life there on the earth plane as far as material possessions are concerned. But this is not the entire point. The substance makes material things glow with the reality of spirit, and it contains the promise that God is the giver. The open channel that gives you this truth trusts you to understand this concept. The entire point here is that you endow the things you own by giving them reality that God has to give to you. That which is the truth will not perish, but that which is material substance will perish. When those from the Brotherhood speak of reality, they speak of spirit. When we speak of reality, we are most likely to point to material things. Bringing these two realities together on this earth plane is our task if we want to make our individual worlds beautiful and eternal. The entire point of what we say is to give you the understanding that God is a true giver, not man. The material things think is not unreasonable. That the thought gives them reality is to clothe them with the great power that is God. That is the way that you can take it with you, you see. Clothe your things with the spiritual substance of God, which is the reality we deal with on this plane of life. I suggested that it is not easy for me to accept this concept of spiritual substance, for I live in a world that uses money as a means of attaining things. Everything was manufactured or made by hand. They have a solid appearance. They are real to me as they are. These solid matters give the impression of eternal truth, but they perish and decay because they are subject to the earth opinion. The earth opinion or thought is that matter decays. The opinion of this next plane of thought is that there no need be decay. We make the things we need and give them solidity, but if we no longer want or need them, they fade away. The things you have there open themselves to your thought energy that there is decay, so they decay. They give themselves to God's pure substance again. That is what decay is, going back to the pure substance from which they came, and that is the truth. Wood is supposedly solid and is made into furniture, but it is not the solid that only appears. The solid is only the appearance. The only solid aspect is the wonderful truth that we can alter its shape, its exterior. But the part that holds it together is the joining of complex elements that hold fast. But even they are not stable enough for eternity. These elements require petrifying that we do with our thoughts to make this substance permanent. We call forth the true God substance to be energy that zeroes in on the needed reality, that which is incorruptible, that which is inoperable, that which is inviolate, that which will not decay or pass away. The petrifying is possible when you think of the wonderful power of God to clothe these things in His great energy. Then the things will be as if petrified. They become lasting, and they can be taken with you to the next plane because they are already thought forms. Frankly, I was overwhelmed by these truths. There is no way I will ever look at my world in quite the same way as I've looked at it before. I remember my first chemistry class in college when the subject of the elements of the universe was first presented to me. I learned the formulas of many substances I use daily, water, air, and many others. The truth that came from the professor of chemistry was that there is no such thing as solid matter. I always felt much wiser about my world because of the chemistry course, but until I received these truth lessons from the Brotherhood, I had never given these facts the serious attention they deserve. I asked about the other aspects of life on the next plane. People always wonder if they will see those they love on the other side. Some wonder if their lives will continue in much the same way, with appreciation for the arts or nature or creative endeavors. People are so different from one another. Lifestyle is different. Will there be a feeling of being at home in the next plane? I have the law of the next plane of life ready to give you. Be open to the idea that though the principle described is the wonderful truth that is there, the picture is not entered into your understanding. Therefore, it is not possible on your plane to understand the picture that I give you. But we will try together anyway. This is the Brotherhood of God reporting this to you. This plane is pure thought form here. The environment is thought. Outside of our spirit bodies, we give the rest of the environment that which we have inside ourselves. We express here according to our growth. That means that we enter into another's good truth if we of this plane find it compatible with ourselves. The ones who join together here have much in common, you see. There must be this common thought to maintain the loveliness we wish to live in. Then there's the matter of getting along together. We abhor friction. Therefore we gather around us those who believe in the same pattern of thought as we do. Then we on this plane become one in our thought process. That way we build what appears to be solid matter, the trees, the homes, the waterways. But it is all thought manifested according to our mutual growth patterns. This way we have no time spent on bickering. We trust one another completely. There is no time spent on the on-stage opportunities to make ourselves powerful, because there is nothing here that power can mold or can manage. Only the mutual thought waves bring the power that provides our good. This is not worrisome. Don't think we live in an unstable environment. Entities who know and understand how to express God truth team up to bring their own good to one another. That way they create a stable environment. An unstable environment is possible, however, if entities of unstable thoughts gather together. They give their mutual instability to one another and thus create what they think. On your plane, there are those today who will bring their weakness to the side to reenact the pictures that they keep insisting is their truth. The weakness of the body, the weakness of the mind, the emotions, the constant peculiar growth patterns that they have. Then they group with others of like mind who believe that their home is made up of bad, evil, ghastly fears of problems that beset them. When they fix their minds on these negatives, they think their own environment into existence, troubled, whether power-seeking brothers who tell them what to do and what to think. They hide themselves in this environment, hoping they will emerge from it when they become worthy. The truth of their place of habitation is that they believe their way is the only way, the right way, the best way to God. They take themselves to the truth of their own making. They take themselves away from open minds. They close themselves in this cloister of unhappiness just as they did on earth. Oh, they do not know they have done this. They think they must be in heaven, and the fact of survival is enough for them to call it heaven. To reach them with the story of inner truth is like going to the bottom of the ocean to tell the deep-sea fish the truth of the God self. They would keep on opening their mouth, never listening, never heeding your words. They have closed minds and closed hearts. I asked if any of these people with closed minds and closed hearts are religious people. They think they have religion, for they think they have the seal of God upon their beings. They peek out now and then and believe that we in the beautiful atmosphere must be on the road to hell. Their idea of heaven is that it is hard, that it is God's wish that they be as they are. They believe in the God of judgment, not the God of the universe. So some of our earthly friends may elect to cling to one group and some to another. Yes, that is right, of course, but those on this plane who love one another will be together. It is God's law that love brings us together. The law or principle here is that the only bond worth growing is true love. You describe two kinds of environments there on your plane. People have various kinds of belief systems, so there must be many more environments. The belief systems you speak of become the growth pattern here. Then together people use that thought to belong to their own growth pattern. That way the various atmospheres become home base. People can travel to see other places, but they may not interfere. They may observe, but there is no missionary work here. There is not thought going out to change anyone, for on this plane it is difficult to grow for the reason you can plainly see. I came back to the subject of our souls grouping themselves in the various patterns. There is no problem. The growth patterns just group together into clusters, like the chemistry you study on Earth plane explains the grouping of atoms and molecules to form matter. We touch the ones we open our minds to. That way we find true homes here. That way there is no trauma over the judgment and so forth. Even the criminals, the hideous minds that touch one another on your plane, can touch one another here and believe they have found heaven, for a while at least. The at least refers to their possible growth. They will grow dissatisfied with their lot and begin to let their minds open up to the truth. They may drift away from this first group to cluster with another group. This way no one is teaching, but all here learn as they can. This is why it is so important on the earth plane not to waste a lifetime to learn the lessons to be the open channel. The Christ that communicates to us to learn the truth and to reconnect with God. The Bible pictures God as our judge, and I asked someone to comment on this. The God of judgment is the one that everyone knows for sure. This God is known because we all subscribe to the need of judgment to bring the justice we think is deserved. This God of judgment is that which gives us our inner conviction on the way we live our lives. This God of judgment tells the truth in the matters that contribute to the growth of our being. But we do not grow into God's good person by knowing only his God of judgment. This judgment is only the primary, the first step into self-knowledge. This God of judgment gives us the power to tell you that we enter the wrong path, to open our eyes to truth, to be there to warn us. To go on from there, we must be open to the other truth that God has given to us. I read in a newspaper yesterday that 42 children died in a bus accident in South Africa. I have been thinking about the shock, the fear, the trauma of these children as they died. What happened to them? These children awoke on the other plane without remembering anything of their death. Death is a brief thing. It seems to be a long thing, but it is not an actuality. Death is not an awesome thing, and the circumstances are even forgotten here. These children here with us give their attention now to their real identities, their true selves. They touch the growth pattern they feel most comfortable in, and they go home, home being the place where they are most comfortable. I asked if any of the children were waiting around to see their earth family. They may, but few do this, only those who have no truth to sustain them in the matter of the touching of the growth pattern. They fear it all, these earthbound ones. They withdraw into themselves. Returning to the subject of the clusters of souls who think alike, I asked again about their social life. Social life is one thing to you, but this social life you speak of is not the same here. This plane is thought. In this plane there is an openness that you on the earth plane cannot comprehend. Therefore, getting together for conversation is not needed. Our thoughts travel out to those we wish to speak to, and others pick it up too. To wish for companionship is to have it. To want music is to have it, as there are many involved in music. To want to see art displayed, well, that is everywhere, because artists beautify our entire environment. They touch all of us with their beautiful thought patterns, painting, sculpture, and other pure beauty. There is theater, of course, this too touches the lives of those who love to wander in a time of the past, or the growth, truth, or the God self-manifesting. The theater gives us much to interest us in the forward movement of our lives here. There is no pornography here because there is no audience for it. There may be such an audience among some clusters. There are poor souls that cling to all their lust, even though they cannot satisfy them. This is the saddest group of all. I asked if there was anything else from those brotherhoods wanted to explain about the next plane of life. The next plane of life is your true home, of course. This plane gives us the best that our minds can think of. This plane is the wonderful place you make of it, or it is a terrible place you make according to your own thoughts of yourself. Be the one to create good by thinking good. Think good of yourself and of those you come into contact with. Think the best in them to manifest that best. Give your heart to God, to the good of your being, who is all good principle. Some thought stimulators. On the next plane of life, things are manifest by thought. The Brotherhood explains that this spiritual principle works the same way on earth plane. What have you noted as important about thoughts? 2. When the Brotherhood speaks of reality, they speak of spirit. When we speak of reality, we speak of material things. Describe how you can blend these realities, thus making them practice in your life. 3. Souls cluster together by like thought forms in the next plane of life. In this way, we each have a home. Think what your ideal home would be in the next plane. What would your thoughts create? Some inner work. Awareness of our thought patterns was stressed in this chapter. We carry this same process into the next plane. Invite the Brotherhood to assist you in opening to your own thought pattern and in transforming your own thinking. Chapter 8. Working out our destiny. Manifesting our dreams, working with our own truth in making decisions, emptying our egos so God may fill us, giving up our bodies to advance souls, opening our eyes to universal truth.